We are back, giving you a Bulls recap for the week that was. The Chicago Bulls had an undefeated week. Only played 2 games, but they won both of them. They played the Minnesota Timberwolves, one of the better teams in the league, on Tuesday, beat them in overtime, 129 and 123, and then seeing one of the worst teams in the Western Conference, the Memphis Grizzlies, beat them 118 to 110. They do have a game tonight, Saturday, against the Magic. As you recall, the Magic had stumped the Bulls out early in the season, both in the in-season tournament. I don't know if they played. I don't think they played since, but yeah. So they're 2-0 so far. Can go for a 3-win week. So we are all eyes on that cue. How do you feel about the Bulls the week the Bulls showed you this far?
Actually, pretty impressive. They beat Minnesota. Minnesota hasn't been playing their best ball the last couple of weeks, but I believe Minnesota was the #1 seed coming into that game. Top defensive team in the league, and they were healthy. So I was actually pretty impressed that the Bulls were able to beat the Wolves. That's been a struggle, the Bulls beating top teams in the league for the last couple of years. So that was quite impressive. And once again, they're inching towards the 500 mark. And I don't think any of us foresaw that in November, especially early or late October, early November. I'm pretty sure we thought that this team would have traded off all its assets, and yet there was not one trade at the deadline.
Yeah, we'll get to that trade deadline in a recap in a minute. Yeah, the Bulls beating the Minnesota Timberwolves is a large step in the right direction. They were down, I think it was 23 points at one point in that game, and they rallied back. Kobe and DeMar DeRozan, they both had 33 points. Nick Vucci, man, he had 24, and Andre Drummond, who's becoming a fan favorite with the Bulls, he has 16 points, 16 boards, and 4 blocks.
And the first time we've seen him start alongside Vucci.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be a consistent thing going forward. I don't know if you can start Drummond and Vucci, man. Even though the Bulls have been looking for a 4 for a while, I don't think that's the remedy. There's a limitation in Drummond's game. Even though he has nice stat lines, you understand that. Yeah, true. Vucci has a limitation as well. You don't want to play those two side by side. I don't think that's the move. But hey, celebrate all wins as they come. The Bulls now enter this game against the Orlando Magic later tonight, 25 and 27. Again, as we were talking backstage, they gonna stay around that 500 mark pretty much all year, aren't they?
They're gonna get back into the play-in, and they're gonna probably maybe go one-on-one in that play-in again. I think it'd be hard to win. True. But if they get that AC, they're probably going against Miami or who's around 6? Is it the Sixers that fell to 6?
No.
Who's in the 6?
Miami's at 7th seed. I think I was just talking about this last night on the homies. Miami's in 8. Miami's the 7th seed. Miami's 7th seed. Orlando Magic's the 8th.
Orlando Magic's the 8th. Okay. Oh. Those would be too hard.
3 games behind both of those teams.
Yeah. And who's in 6? Who's in 6?
Indiana Pacers.
Indiana. Okay, Indiana's in 6. I can see maybe Miami climbing. I don't know. Maybe Miami or Orlando could overtake Indiana, especially if Tyrese Halliburton keeps getting banged up. That would still be a hard team for the Bulls to beat in the play-in. So
I kind of think the Heat and the Magic are going to stay in that 7th, 8th spot for the most of the season. I think the Heat. This is probably one of the worst. I think the characters turned back to a pumpkin. The horses have turned back to rats. For the Miami Heat, Jimmy Butler can only give you so much. He can only carry you so far.
He's regular season 35 now.
Yeah, regular season ain't necessarily what they do.
Everybody's not going to play to their 40.
No, that's an outlier thing. Everybody can't do what certain goats do. Yeah, I think, and if the Bulls do mess around and catch one of them Florida teams in the play-in, I got a toss-up, man.
We haven't looked so good
anything.
against the Magic lately.
No, they haven't, but still, I mean, I would give them a puncher's chance coming to the play-in.
Yeah, Miami's been dicking around in the regular season the last couple of years. I don't count them out because Spoelstra is one of the, I think he's one of the greatest coaches we've seen in our lifetime. And somehow they keep getting these low seeds and they keep, making these unbelievable playoff runs. So I'm not optimistic if the Bulls got to play Miami or Orlando to get into the play-in to get into the playoffs. Orlando has too much front court size for us to deal with, and Miami's just got too much veteran guile. And I mean, let's be honest. I think in a game like that, Spoelstra is out coaching Donovan again. So
I would lean in that way. The best thing about Spoelstra is his in series of adjustments, not in game adjustments. If you can catch Miami early in a game, in a 1-game setting, you might be able to beat them. Especially as banged up as Jimmy is, and Bam don't necessarily always show up when you need him to. When you need an offensive production out of Bam, he don't always give it to you. Pause. And if the Bulls run out there with Drummond and Vucci, man, and at a tag team front court, I mean, Bam, he's an undersized big. He might shrink, pun intended. Yeah, we shall see. Trade deadline. That was also this week. Bulls made how many moves?
They did not make any trade. This is third straight year at the trade deadline they failed to make a trade.
Yeah, I don't even know why the trade deadline. Well, the trade deadline is not for the Bulls. They're not run it back. It's
Clearly
not for the Bulls. They don't do that.
We're not here to acquire talent, and we're not here to sell it off. It's gonna stay the same. Never. AK literally he's on this genuine same OG. He's consistent. We're just out here waiting for Lonzo Ball to return. And if you're a fan of Dr. Dre, you could relate because I don't know how long Dr. Dre fans been waiting for him to drop that detox, but seems about the same thing with Lonzo Ball. Waiting for Lonzo Ball to return and come rescue this team out of its mediocrity. Every year we hear about how the Bulls were the number 1 seed when Lonzo was healthy. It's time to move on. Lonzo ain't touched the court since what was it, COVID? And since you guys were giving each other COVID, Lonzo hasn't been on the court.
Hashtag the return is something the Bulls fans are very familiar with. You spoke on something. Third straight trade deadline, and the Bulls made 0 moves. That is alarming, especially because the AK regime came in with so much promise. They was going to be so different from Garpax.
And there was so much change that first year.
Yeah.
There was so much change that first year. They were aggressive. They acquired DeRozan. They acquired Caruso. They acquired Lonzo Ball. They made plans to sign they acquired Vucci. They made plans to sign Lavine long term. They brought in Ayo Dosunmu, drafted Pat Williams, the next Kawhi Leonard. Still waiting for that next Kawhi Leonard, but I'd settle for the next Pippen. Be the next Pippen. I don't mean to start any controversy. I'm not suggesting, dear Bulls fans, I'm not suggesting Kawhi's moved ahead of Pippen on the all-time small forward list. I'm just saying.
Oh, whoa! Why is that? That should not be a controversial take. I mean, Kawhi is a Finals MVP 2 times over. I mean, is he not? Is he? How was Pippen ahead of him in the all-time conversation?
Listen, I personally have Kawhi over Pippen, but sometimes Bulls fans, they they yell at me. They want to punch down at you if you do not have Pippen in the top three, top 4 or 5 small forwards of all time. They want him on that small forward Mount Rushmore.
I would like to believe this is an all fan base. It's just it's just how sports conversation has evolved over time. You got to be able to disassociate your fandom from reality. Just because, and this goes back to the Bear Claw Cup, our conversations earlier this week. Just because you have an honest opinion of a particular person that played for your squad does not make you anti your squad.
Yes.
Kawhi's career is better than Pippen's. Full stop. It is not. That is not disrespectful to Pippen. And certain players should not make the
Well,
Hall.
Kawhi's
That's
a
not
better player
disrespectful to
than,
those players.
than Pippen.
Yes,
He's
way better.
definitely a better player than Pippen. Career wise, I think his career eclipsed Pippen's too. I mean, unless you want to, the whole ring argument. But then you would have
The
to
ring argument
make a case
is
that Pippen
only for.
the best player on the team. That's my opinion.
That's correct. The ring argument is only for the when you're having GOAT conversations. Like then you could bring the ring as
When you're driving the boat.
as a cherry on the top, right? A cherry on top type of stuff like that. Because it takes a village to raise that child. Everybody has to pull their own weight to win.
Yeah,
to
of
win
course.
titles. Yes, I understand that. But when you have 2 Finals MVPs on 2 different in 2 different conferences for 2 different teams, obviously,
Yeah,
and your team was the underdog in both of those series, I don't think never having a Finals MVP, never being in the MVP well, he was in the MVP conversation once, but I think that when your whole career is synonymous with being the sidekick, not to make that a derogatory term, and I don't want to use
it's not.
I definitely don't mean that in a pejorative, but when your career is akin to being the second option, you can't. Your argument cannot hold a candle to a guy with multiple Finals MVP awards. I mean, I'm just sorry. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is.
I agree. I place Kawhi ahead of Scotty on the all-time small forward list. I think Kawhi is one of the few guys. Who else has beaten Steph and LeBron in the series?
Only one person I can think of, Kawhi.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's impressive.
Very impressive. Another hot topic that happened this week. Oh, did it happen last week? I'm not sure. Zach is so in and out of the lineup.
It's over with.
Okay, all right. Yeah, he's in and out of the lineup so much I can't keep track. But his season has come to an abrupt end. We didn't think that he was going to finish the season with the Bulls anyway, and he decided to make us right in some way or some fashion. His season is over for a foot injury, I believe it was, that nagging foot injury. He's going to go have surgery.
Yeah.
There was
Conveniently,
conversation
before
of
he
him
was
being
going to be moved to the Pistons. Yeah.
Yeah, there was conversation of him being traded to Detroit. I think they were saying that was the only taker for Zach, which is not very flattering. But
that's not the ideal situation for a veteran player, former 2-time All-Star, in the peak of his career. And when we talk about the peak, not entering the prime, at the peak is in terms of you're at the top of that of your career, but you're kind of looking down the hill. This is the time for you to establish, playoff winning and to cement your legacy. And going to the Pistons is not going to do that. And I think Zach was aware of that. To quote Eric Killmonger, just bury me in the ocean with my ancestors who jumped from the ships because they knew death was better than bondage. Zach definitely said, bury me on the IR with my predecessors who knew finishing the season on the injured reserve was better than Head in Detroit. He channeled his inner 1998 Scottie Pippen on that one. Who famously, if you watched the Last Dance or were old enough to actually watch that team, decided that he was going to have surgery on his back because he was angry at the Bulls instead of starting the '98 season. Look how that
Well,
tied in.
he decided
We
he decided
channeled
to wait.
Pippen, and Lavine did too.
Hey, man, it is what it is, man. So the Bulls, I mean, most Bulls fans had made their peace with Zach not finished the season with him, man. Hey, you got to hear. It is what it is. So moving forward, I know this is a question we asked long ago. This has to be Kobe's team, right? And I think the
Yeah,
decision on that should be cemented, depending on where the Bulls go from here on out for the rest of this season. If the Bulls end up like positive in the 7th or 8th seed, and for the play-in, you gotta take real stock of that. Like, okay, how did we get here? Who drove this bus to get us here? And let's make sure that we can build up on that so we can progress years going forward. Um, you have to be. You can't bring the. They can't, I know the Bulls. I know AK and them. They
don't say
like to run it
can't.
back.
Don't say can't. You're speaking from a logical perspective of building a franchise. The Bulls have been anything but logical in building for hell since the dynasty was torn down. So you're trying to impart logic in this, and I don't think the Bulls are imparting logic. They're imparting sales, um, ticket sales, and profit.
That's true. That's true. The Bulls are number one in what's it called? Attendance still, right? So
Last I checked, yeah, which is unbelievable. I got to take that with a grain of salt. I can't see. Are they really getting higher attendance than the Lakers, than the Knicks? I mean, New York City, Madison
ah,
Square Garden, they tell us that is the mecca of basketball, and the Knicks are enjoying
and they have
success.
yes they are. So I'm glad you pointed that out. It is possible to fudge some numbers. It is possible to say you have a sellout and there not be butts in every seat. You can't do that. I know of former general managers who have bought their own unsold tickets, at a
Hmm.
discount, whatever, right? Just to say
Yeah,
we've sold out, just to do that. So yeah, it
but
could
see,
be
they're
also
saying
funny
attendance,
money.
not sellout.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've attended a Bulls game recently. I've attended. Let's see, last one I attended probably was this is I believe yeah, I attended one I believe last year, 2023. Um,
Hmm.
and I attend Bulls games pretty regularly. I have no doubt that they're selling out. Uh, the stadium doesn't seem like it's packed to capacity like it has. I've attended in the Jordan era when I was a kid. I've attended in the D Rose era. When at the height of D Rose, it felt different. It felt like it was. There's a lot of people there, but it doesn't. I can't see the Bulls leading the league in attendance over the Nuggets, the Lakers, the Knicks. Like I don't know. I haven't been to LA or Denver or Madison Square Garden, but it looks, at least from my angle on the TV, that those stadiums are much more full. So
I don't know why they wouldn't be. I could not. I know the Bulls have a long wait for season tickets. Maybe that's accounted for this, but I can't imagine. People lining up to go see the Bulls play. I mean, it's been it's 25 and 2017. You didn't have great expectations coming into the season. You didn't have them last season.
you don't
It's
have a huge draw either.
no.
There's not a D Rose to attract people here. There's not a must see. No disrespect to Kobe White, he's having a fantastic season, but there's not a guy who is drawing people, to the stadium.
Right.
You don't even have an all star. I think the Bulls. I think I read this week the Bulls are maybe the only team in 20 years to not have one participant in All Star Weekend. I mean, not to have an All
Correct.
Star name, not to have anybody in the Rising Star Challenge, dunk contest, or 3-point contest. You have to be mired in mediocrity to not have anybody in any of those. That means you don't have a player good enough to be at the top of his league, voted by his peers and the fans, and you don't have a young player good enough. And the Rising Star Challenge takes 12 rookies from or 12 rookies, 12 sophomores, right? Or is it 10 and 10?
I
You
think
don't
it's
have
10
to
to
be
10.
very good to make that game. You don't have to be very good to make that game. I mean, we've seen almost all the Bulls draft picks who are considered disappointments make it. I'm pretty sure Pat Williams made one of those. I think back in the days, do we have Jamal Crawford and Khalid Alamines? Do we have those guys go? Not saying Jamal Crawford was disappointing, but I think pretty much everybody, any top pick should go there. Jay Williams went there. Who was the Bulls? Who was the Bulls? Do the Bulls have any? Who was the Bulls' first round pick this year?
Wasn't it Daylon
No,
Terry?
they didn't have one.
Dalen Terry?
I think that was like Dalen Terry was last year,
So
so
the
he's not
Bulls
in the
didn't have
sophomore
a
game.
they didn't have a pick either. You said he did. So it was
Right.
either last. I was thinking it was last year. They didn't have a first round pick because they had to trade it back to Orlando in the Bucci Mane trade. So one of the last 2
Yeah, they
years
gave up their pick this
they don't
year.
have no one to send to that game.
Yeah, that's unbelievable for a team to not have anybody in either the rookie sophomore or the All Star game. Because usually, if you don't have an All Star, you picked high enough to have a rookie sophomore. At least one of the top 10 in the league in that area. They don't even have to be top 10 because if you're a second year player and you're really good, you go to the All Star game. You don't go to the rookie sophomore game.
Yeah. Man. So there's no rooting interest for Bulls fans for the All Star weekend that's coming up, and then next weekend, right? And the All Stars game is next
Next
weekend,
weekend,
right? So unfortunately, that sucks. So maybe the Bulls can at least give their fans a little bit of hope. They can go ahead and beat Orlando as they are trailing them by 3 games in the standings, and go ahead and maybe knock off the Cleveland Cavaliers in Toronto this next week and bring themselves back up to over 500 going into the break. That could be the only saving grace for them this this first half of the season.
this season.
Yeah.
Um, to backtrack on what you were saying earlier, I think it's time. Um, yeah, the Bulls should build around Kobe. At least see what they can do around Kobe. I think we've said this a couple times this year. It's time to break this team up and not keep running it back.
Yeah. All right, man. You got anything else for the Bulls recap for this week?
No, that's it. See red.
See, Red Bulls 25 and 27. We'll be back next week to recap their full first half and also check in for us on the watch alongs also coming up this week as well from me and Q